Happy Halloween! Happy October. I am sorry we missed October with you because I was in another state. I was spending a good chunk of October in Massachusetts. I visited Boston and I visited Salem. So happy belated Halloween, ladies and gentlemen. I am sorry for not delivering you better, timely videos. I do have a new beautiful white background and I also got some new lights. So hopefully the future videos will be just a little bit more influential, if you will. I have a beautiful pumpkin here as a wonderful backdrop. I'm going to set him right here. And I wanted to show you before we go too far one really cool thing. I painted this mask, and if you want to see the process of the painting, go ahead and visit my other channel, and I will be sure to put a link. It's my first channel. This was actually my second channel, but I wanted to show you this because, again, it is certainly one of my more favorite stuff. I have a lot of favorite stuff, and this is certainly one of the many projects that I've worked on, and you can go and visit my other channel and watch those videos as well. So this is a cool little mask I did for Halloween this year, and go visit my other channel to watch the creation of it. I did say that I visited Boston. I highly suggest visiting Massachusetts because of Salem. Salem is certainly one of my more favorite places in the world. Boston is a beautiful place. Massachusetts is a beautiful place. And during October, it is, of course, gorgeous. I'll show you a few pictures around if I think of it. One thing that I got from Boston that I can show you is this cool little ship, this cool little vessel that I bought. It was super cheap. It was at a little shop, and it says Boston right there at the bottom. I don't know, I thought it was kind of neat. It's kind of a cool little ship. Anyways, on to my favorite stuff, my favorite things, my favorite everything. Well, today we're going to go over something that I've been wanting to bring out. Now, this video will only be a small percentage of these items that I own, mainly because this collection is very large. If you are familiar with NECA's Toony Terrors or Toony Terrors series, it is pretty much a collection of cartoonish horror and sci-fi type characters made into figurines that are more cartoonish. So less realistic and more cartoonish, very colorful. Think Scooby Doo villains is a good way of pointing out how it looks. So let's get this started. And the reason why I wanted to do this too is because I purchased a few Toony Terrors, new ones from the new series, and I wanted to open them up on this channel for you. So let's go and start with one of my favorites, mainly because I actually met this guy this past year at a convention here in Colorado. So I'm going to show you one of two figures that were released for this guy. This is Bruce Campbell's Ash. So Ash, of course, we all know Ash, Evil Dead, the one and only Evil Dead. He was in multiple movies, of course, not just one, but Bruce Campbell played Ash in the Evil Dead. Evil Dead was a horror film from 1981. He obviously continued doing the Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness in 1992. And then he continued to do his work through Ash vs. the Evil Dead, going from 2015 to 2018, I believe. And so his shows are very campy and hilarious and fun to watch. And I was going to say I'm missing his shotgun here. So these figures are fully, you can move them around and stuff. They are not necessarily meant to, I guess, play with. You can certainly play with them, but not necessarily made for kids. But as you can see, you can do a lot of stuff with them. You can take the shotgun, put it in the back, you put it in his hand, whatever works best. Now, this is two separate figures from two separate series. This is from series 1, I believe, and this might be from 2 or 3. I forget. But I'll probably identify them here. However, this one, as you can tell, has blood on it, which makes it just a little bit more characteristic of Ash. But these guys are fun. Now, you can kind of tell what I meant by them being kind of cartoony with the Scooby Doo look. You know, they're very long. They got these broad legs and just are very cartoonish and caricature, if you will. So there you go. Ash. There you go. Okay. Well, that is Ash right there. I'm going to go and move Ash aside, and we are going to bring out my next one. So, we all remember the serial killing character with the chainsaw who wore his victims' faces on his face. I am speaking of the one and only Leatherface himself. So here he is. Here's Leatherface from the 1974 film Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, I'm not going to explain all the movies because there is a large collection of Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, and some that are called Leatherface and some spin-offs. So I'm not going to describe all of them. However, there was a very recent one that Netflix did, which was actually pretty good. So I would suggest watching the newest one from Netflix. It actually was not too bad. So there you go. There's Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There you go. This guy's cool. He's pretty neat. Can you imagine this guy running around chasing Scooby Doo?
Scooby-Dooby-Doo!
I don't think so. There you go, Leatherface. All right. Well, one that might not be as familiar to a lot of you folks is a little... Actually, he's not little at all. He's huge. He's a bit of a love story to horror movies. And maybe while I have him, I'll bring out another one because they're kind of similar. But this is Victor Crowley. Victor Crowley has a long story within his storyline, if you will. He's from the movie called Hatchet. Hatchet came out in 2006, I believe. There are 3+ movies. I think there's 4 now. Most of them are called Hatchet. I think one of them is called Victor Crowley, something along those lines. Don't hold me on that. But as you can see, he is a very large man, and he is ready for action. He was accidentally killed, I guess you could say. Hurt, mangled by his father, who accidentally hurt him during a fire. And Victor has been kind of running around since. So Victor Crowley, the reason why I call it a horror or a love story to horror movies is because it's got kind of the quintessential horror slasher movie idea. You have a big guy who's nuts that's going around killing people, right? The movie itself was filmed in a way, and the casting was cast in a way to again mirror a lot of other movies. You have Robert Englund is in the movie, and you have a lot of other characters that were in the movie that you just say, wow, I know that guy. And it's very funny. It's a very funny, campy movie that you just, if you grew up watching Jason Voorhees and watching Halloween and watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre, those kind of things, this movie just kind of relates to you when you watch it. This one takes place in New Orleans. So there you go, Victor Crowley, ready for action, ready to do some murdering. Now, one character I can certainly bring out with him because they are very similar is the one and only Jason Voorhees. Different, of course, but as you can tell, very similar. You got some dude that's been mangled and kind of beat up and misunderstood his whole life, and he grew up to be a killer. Very similar. Jason Voorhees, obviously from Friday the 13th. Jason is shown here with his iconic mask. And the mask he actually did not have until the 3rd movie, I believe. So the 1st and 2nd movie, he did not have a mask. But the 1st movie, it wasn't him at all. If you haven't seen the movie, I won't ruin it for you. But the 2nd movie, he came back. But the 3rd movie, he didn't have the mask until later. So the 3rd movie, he got the mask. But you can see this one is certainly one of my favorites. He's just very elongated, very cartoonish. And the colors and everything else are just wonderful. So he's I certainly love this one. This one's probably one of my favorites. And everything moves on him. This was certainly, I think, one of the more cool ones. I debated about buying a few more of these and repainting them, actually. Just because I love their design so much. But there you go. Jason, the Jason Voorhees. There you go. Love it. So another movie that you may not be as familiar with. A lot of people don't know of it. Some do, some don't. Another slasher movie. I'll give you a little tease right there. If you know what this is, then you know who this is. This is from a movie called My Bloody Valentine. This portrays a character called Axel Palmer, who goes a little nuts, unlike any other, just like most of our other slasher movies, and goes around and starts killing people. He is in a mine, I believe it's a coal mine if I'm not mistaken, and goes around and starts murdering. This was from a movie from 1981, actually, so it's a little older horror flick. But actually, it's funny because this movie had a lot of issues in the theaters because it was too bloody. It was actually too violent. It got a lot of rating issues. A lot of people didn't quite like how violent it was, so it had some difficulty in the theaters even getting released. But the movie itself is actually pretty good. It's again kind of one of those campy horror flicks, you know, a little too bloody sometimes for what it is, and goofy deaths and bad acting. But it's a good movie. So there you go. There's My Bloody Valentine, Axel. And probably, I will say, I said, okay, I lied. I said Jason Voorhees was my favorite of these characters, which he's darn close. But my favorite is probably, you all know who this is. This is Regan from the 1973 film The Exorcist. Now, Regan was played by Linda Blair when she was a kid. And as you can tell, Regan is very well designed. It's got amazing... the characteristics to the entire thing are just amazing. The arms, the hands, everything about it just is very well designed and created. And yeah, this is certainly one of my favorites. This one actually comes with a secondary headpiece, and the vomit does come out of her mouth, so it doesn't have to be in there. But I always put them on these little pedestals because I think they just look better in there, just like that. But you can put that head on top of that one, of course. And this is Regan vomiting out her pea soup. Wow. It's pretty classic. There you go, Regan. Certainly probably one of the better sculpts in here. But still kind of cartoony and fun. You know, you could tell some of these are less cartoony than others. But this one still is pretty fun with the bright colors and the green and everything else. So that's a good one. That was certainly one of the better ones. Let's talk a little bit about a classic called Beetlejuice. The Beetlejuice, played by Michael Keaton back in 1988, directed by Tim Burton. This figure is interesting. You can tell it's very, very, I don't know what the word is. It's done very well. The character itself was already pretty cartoony, already pretty characteristic in character, if that's a good word of putting it. And I think the arch on his back is just a little much, if I had to have an opinion. But it's still really cool. There's some difficulties with this one, but he's a cool character. I think if they went with more of a design, and maybe that's what they were scared of. Maybe they were scared of the design from the cartoon series. If you ever watched the cartoon series, maybe they were worried that this would look too much like the cartoon series than the live action, of course, Michael Keaton character. But you can tell it's still pretty fun. It's a neat design. You know, you look at this, say, versus, you look at this guy versus, say, You see the difference. It's just, it's cartoony. I don't know. It makes you wonder who's sculpting it. You know, who sculpted this versus this. So, I don't know. They're still very good. I like them a lot. They did a good job on it. I wish they did the worm. The worm, I think, would have been great. I would have loved to see the worm, the sandworm. But it's pretty cool. Michael Keaton in Beetlejuice. Okay, so I only have a few more. I'm not showing you all of my characters. I will do a second video maybe with the rest, because the rest of them are also very cool. So I think I'm only missing one, I think, in the entire series. Otherwise, I have most of the others. So I only have a few more here before we open up a couple brand new ones. Let's show you this one. This is a wonderful one. This is a beautiful design, very cartoonish. Very, very Scooby Doo. Especially these legs. I love it. She does stand up, just like that. And this is the nun, or in her demon name, she is called Valak. She is a character from the Conjuring universe. It's actually, she originated from the Conjuring 2, if I'm not mistaken. 2016 is when the Conjuring 2 was. The Nun, however, was from 2018, which was the spin-off. I did not like The Nun as much. I thought The Conjuring 2 was amazing, but The Nun, a little rough. The character itself is really cool. I think I was a pretty big fan of this character, Valak, from The Conjuring. So, but she stands really well, and I just love the running feature. It's just classic, just running. It's pretty good. As you can tell, she's very scary and spooky. If you ever grew up watching the movie High Spirits, that's kind of what it reminds me of. High Spirits, the creepy nuns in the windows. Yeah, like, that movie was funny, but it also gave me nightmares as a kid because of those nuns. Valak is no different. So, there's actually a glow-in-the-dark version of this I do not have. I do not own the glow-in-the-dark version. So if you know of any way of selling the glow-in-the-dark version cheap, I might just buy it. I have another figure. Now this one also, like Ash, has two separate versions. This is, we are all familiar with Michael Myers. Michael Myers is the quintessential Halloween slasher. Again, a child who was nuts that grew up into a murderer. Seems like a pretty common theme here. So Michael Myers, original Halloween movie, 1978. Halloween 2, I believe, was 1981, and it continued from there. The third Halloween trilogy, the new ones, have just ended. I would suggest watching them. The third one really wasn't too bad. I actually liked it. The third one got some grief, the most recent one in 2022. But I actually liked it. It was different. And, you know, you can only go so far with a slasher movie, and I think you unfortunately just need that different storyline in order to make it interesting. So I think the new one was pretty good. So the reason why there's two of them, obviously two separate series, these are from two separate collections. You obviously have your original Michael Myers from the original Halloween movie. And then you have your Michael Myers from, I believe, the second movie. Eyes are bleeding. Got a little bit of blood on him, a little darker, a little more pissed off maybe. But you can tell, again, similar to our Jason Voorhees character, you know, very cartoony and elongated and very fun. I like these guys. The knives do come out. I don't think that's going to fit. No. I don't think he's going to be happy with that knife. So this is a small collection of a few of my Toony Terrors, and actually what I do is I show them off on my bookcase in most cases. You gotta dust them off every once in a while, but they're pretty cool. I like these guys a lot. Again, colorful, fun, and if you're like me, you like to collect stupid stuff, so here we go. Here's my favorite stuff, my favorite collectibles, my favorite toys. I will show you one more, only because I just realized it's right behind me. This is the twins. The twins looking up at you. Hello, hello, twins. They do come off their pedestal. And you might think they're the same, but they're not. They're just a little different. They're just designed just a little different to make it just creepy enough. They hold hands. You can put them next to each other and they'll hold each other's hands. Just like that from the movie. We're all familiar with The Shining. And these are the twins who were murdered. Grady's twins. So these are really cool. I think this design I think was pretty much needed. I'm not sure why they haven't made Jack Torrance yet. Jack Torrance would have been an amazing Toony Terror. Imagine Jack Torrance in a design like that. You know? Give me the bat, Wendy. Give me the bat. Give me the bat. Give me the bat, bat, boo.
Give me the bat. Come on. Give me the bat. Give me the bat, bat, boo. Scaredy cat.
Okay. Yeah. So there you go. There's the twins. So that is the last one of the Toony Terrors. However, stick around 2 seconds. Let me grab my boxes. We have two. I'm going to put this guy aside just a little bit farther because we have, let's see. Okay, let's start with one that is associated with this beautiful man. Halloween 3. So Halloween 3, if you're not familiar, unlike Halloween 1 and 2, they wanted to go in a different direction with Halloween 3. They thought they were heading in the right direction, if you will. And many would argue that they did not. Because they needed to stick with Michael Myers. However, this movie did not do very good, but it was later became a cult classic because it's creepy and it's weird and it's got a horrible theme to it, and it's got these cool kids in it. So I'm gonna open this up, and I do have another one. Let me find my knife because I know it's sat over here somewhere. There it is. It's underneath all these Toony Terrors. Okay, there you go. So again, I'm gonna reiterate. This was actually from Season of the Witch. So Halloween 3 Season of the Witch from 1982. It follows these. Well, it involves this company called Silver Shamrock Novelties, and they make these masks. And as you can tell, this kid's having a bad day. So this kid watched the commercial and unfortunately did not live through it. So you put these masks on and you watch the television set on Halloween night, and you're not going to live, unfortunately. You will die, you will perish. Go ahead and turn off this video right now if you do not want a spoiler. Spoilers. If you've never seen this movie, turn it off, shut it off, be done with it. It turns out that the reason for it is because it was for a pagan ritual sacrificing children. So it's super twisted, but pretty cool nonetheless. So these three children, the three victims of Season of the Witch. So let's go ahead and open this guy up. Start right here. Oh boy. It always gives you a really cool backdrop. There you go, Silver Shamrock. That's pretty neat, just like that. It always gives you a real cool little backdrop you could put on your bookshelf if you really wanted to. Let's see. Let's go ahead and pull these guys out first. We got a little bag. Bag. He's got his pillowcase. Now these ones are designed a lot like the one, like kind of the Jason Voorhees style. Kind of a little more elongated. There she is with the witch mask. I love it. It says, it's got the silver shamrock logo there at the bottom. Very cool. See how she stands. Not too bad. She stands okay. Her legs do move, so she does move pretty well. Now, I'm not going to lie. I don't know. I'm not sure if she's supposed to be carrying. I assume she's carrying it like this. So let's. There we go. Thinking like that. There you go. She's got her little bag. I don't know what this is about. Is she? I don't know if she's supposed to be. Maybe like that. Maybe she's giggling. I don't know. Let's look at the box. Maybe I missed something. That's okay. I would assume that's just how the design is. There you go. There she is, doing her thing. Very cool. So there she is. Let's go and set her aside. Let's get this. Let's do that. There's this guy holding his little knapsack. There you go. It's not too bad. He stands up pretty well. He's cool. He's got a good design to him. I like that. That's a great costume too. So he's begging for his candy. I guess like that. More or less. They don't do. Oh, you know what? I'll bet he's supposed to do this. I bet it's like this. There you go. Whoa! Woo! There you go. Holding his little sack, wanting some candy. Give me some candy. There you go. Give me some candy. Cool. Head moves. And last but not least, we got, oh boy, our little buddy here. Now his legs are super duper funky. Don't know. I did notice on a few of these figures, and unfortunately it is a NECA thing. NECA has had some problems in the past with some of their figures getting bent. So this one is super funky. You can tell he's got this leg that kind of comes down, so he does stand, but it is a little strange because he's got one foot that's half up, and then the other one's fully down. And I think over time, if you keep them in one space for too long, they actually slowly sag. And I don't know if it's the rubber or the plastic or what it is. I have a few other Toony Terrors I'll show you eventually, maybe in a different video. But they actually morph and warp. And after they've warped, they ain't standing anymore. Unfortunately, they just will not stand. So you got to put them on a stand, or have something that holds them up. Otherwise, they will never stand. So this guy's got the pumpkin, and as you can tell on the box, this guy did not have a good day. Yeah, so there you go. I think it would have been cool if they came with the TV. The NECA figures, they actually make a clothed NECA figure with these, which I do have, and I'll show those to you one day. But that does come with the TV, actually. So these guys do not come with the TV. Let me put that guy in his car. Grab him. So this guy has his little sack hanging out. There you go. That one fits pretty well. Doing his thing. Well, there you go. It's got the little shamrock too. Does it have the shamrock? Yeah, it did. It had a little shamrock on there. Okay. So there you go. There's those three guys. I'm happy with them. They will look good on my bookshelf. And let's not forget, last but not least, let's talk Werewolf. Certainly one of my favorite Halloween movies to watch every year is American Werewolf in London from 1981. It's very humorous. It's a very funny movie. It's a horror comedy technically. Even the directors were known for comedy, so they did make it relatively comedic. It follows David Kessler and Jack Goodman, I believe, as they go through Yorkshire, and they end up at a bar called the Slaughtered Lamb, where they end up leaving, and there you go. That is, I think, yes, Jack dies. Jack gets mauled and killed by his friend, David. David turns into the werewolf, and Jack dies, and when you are a werewolf and you kill somebody, you are haunted by them for the rest of your life. You will always see them, and they will slowly decay until they are a skeleton. And so this guy has watched his friend slowly disintegrate in front of him, and as he turns back into a human, he's haunted by his friend, who is begging him to kill himself so that he could finally be in peace. And every single person he kills follows him around and haunts him, so it's pretty cool. It's a great movie. You would never think a werewolf movie would have ghosts, but no, it does certainly have a ghost in it. So there you go, American Werewolf. Let's get this guy open. This guy has some wonderful little, there you go, there's the slaughtered lamb sign. That's pretty neat. Little slashes everywhere. Pretty cool. Even says right here, Toony Terrors. Bring the fun of Saturday morning cartoons to your horror collection with these adorable little creeps. Pick your favorites or collect them all and make everyday Toony Terror time. Okay. Very cool. It's got the full moon. There you go. All right, let's get this guy open. This one, I was gonna say, this is a pretty big box. I thought maybe it wouldn't open the same way, but. Oh, cool. It's got the slaughtered lamb. The hills of Yorkshire. Very neat. Okay. This one will be a little easier to cut than the other one. Maybe not. This one wasn't even fully locked up. All right. Remind me not to hurt myself trying to cut these things. Ever since they started using these plastic ones instead of the metal, you'd think, you can only imagine how many of these things are floating around in the ocean. Oh, that came out easy. All right, let's look at him first. Ooh, cool. All right, neat. What a strange design. I remember watching this for the first time. I thought, wow, what a cool design for a movie. Now, this movie had, I think, well, I'm pretty sure it was 100% practical effects. I don't think this movie had any digital, and back then they really didn't. 1981, they didn't really have a lot of digital effects. So this movie was pretty much 100% camera work and creature design. So there you go, look at creepy little knuckles. It's a very creepy design. Big old yellow eyes. So its arms move, and the nails are very sharp. Holy cow. And Stands obviously very well. Its mouth does not open, but its head does turn. It's pretty cool. Very good. Very practical design, and that is a creepy werewolf, man. That is a creepy werewolf. Yo. Okay. Let's set him aside. Let's take a look at this borderline deadite. If you know what I mean by when I say deadite, then you would know what this guy's talking about. It's a deadite. There you go. There's his buddy, Jack. Jack was killed, and now Jack just wants to go to heaven. Or hell, I guess, depending on how good of a guy Jack was. Jack is tired of haunting and being a living corpse, or a dead corpse, whatever you want to call him. He's not a zombie. Do not get him mixed up with a zombie. He is a ghost haunting our poor David. Very cool. He's wearing his big old coat, big old European coat. He's got his slash marks. Killed, mangled by his buddy. And this one's got a very similar design to all the others. You can see those boots. Very cool. Well, I think we have hit our mark for the end of these Toony Terrors. I have probably another, gosh, 15 or so Toony Terrors, and they're all, of course, different designs and colors and features and characters and everything else. And you can imagine the amount of horror movies that are in the world. There's a whole new collection of these coming out this year. They have a character from They Live. I'm sorry, excuse me, from the movie They Live. And there's a few other characters coming out. They have the clowns from Outer Space. They will be coming out with those, and you can imagine how those guys are going to look. They're going to look pretty rad. So these are really cool. I would suggest if you're into horror movies, these things look just awesome, and they're actually not that expensive. You would think they're kind of high priced, but they're really not. I mean, they're pretty cheap, and you can get a pretty good collection of these guys in your life. And I would suggest, if you are a horror fanatic like me, I would suggest taking a closer look at these wonderful characters. They look wonderful on a bookshelf, and they are wonderful for conversation. If you have a wonderful movie collection that you enjoy, I would suggest buying them because they look wonderful with your movies. And all I can say is that I will continue to collect these as the days progress. And as the days progress, I will show them to you. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this wonderful presentation of horror creatures, and have a good rest of your week. And visit my other channel. I will attach a link. So visit my other channel. You might just be surprised by some of the videos. I did do a Boston video, and I have a Salem video coming up soon. So minus that, this channel is regarding my favorite stuff, and here is some of my favorite stuff. So ladies and gentlemen, have a good rest of your week. Bye-bye.